Piece number 14 has 3 parts to it, so this is called a triptych, and I'm going to be referring to them as 14A, 14B, and 14C. And the story behind why I have 3 of them is because over the month of August, after I'd already determined that I was going to do my show around this crazy, colorful, chaotic inner child theme, I kept coming across cicadas in different phases of their life. 14A has the cicada that I found first. This piece is called Embryonic, and that's because this cicada was outside of the Fine Arts building, laying on the ground in early August, shedding out of its skin. Now, I know that they do this, but I didn't know that they live underground for 4 years before they come up and shed off their skin. I guess I never really paid much attention to cicadas until then. I thought, ooh, this is really cool. My friend would really like to see this. So I took a picture of it, and it was just because I thought, how cool, how weird. Because, normally they're on a vertical surface, and for whatever reason, this little guy didn't know what a vertical surface was, and he chose horizontal as his way of being. And so 14A kind of talks about coming out of your shell for the first time, and being confused, taking these baby steps and learning about life. And then 14B, that cicada I found second, and it too was right outside of the Fine Arts building on the sidewalk, except school had started at this point, so it was a little bit farther into August. I hadn't noticed that it had 2 left wings until after I took the picture of the third cicada, but once I did, I came back and titled this piece, 2 Left Wings. And this one is meant to be about the way that we learn to compare ourselves and contrast ourselves to other people and kind of pick ourselves apart. And I chose these photos of butterflies that I'd had on my phone to use as a comparison model because a lot of people would call butterflies beautiful and cicadas gross. And although I look at cicadas a lot differently now, I'd still rather a butterfly land on me than a cicada land on me, But I do appreciate them a lot more now. I really wanted this piece to symbolize that really tough feeling you get when you just don't feel like you're good enough to fit in. And lastly, for 14C, I found the last cicada in the parking lot of the EA building heading towards the Fine Arts building. And this might have been a little bit into September at this point, and it had just been crushed. This thing was crushed, but it finally had 2 perfect wings. Somehow, its wings were strong enough to maintain all of that, but its body was not. And once I found that one, I knew that I had to make a piece with all 3 of these because what is the likelihood you find a cicada in 3 different phases of its life looking like this? And so I titled this one Perfectionism because it's about the struggle that it is to get to this quote-unquote perfect way of being. And perfect is just an ideal that we ourselves come up with of what we want. But when you push and push and push to this unrealistic standard, you crush yourself on the way there. So yeah, he has 2 perfect wings, but he's dead. So was it worth the cost that it took to get to be perfect? And I'd like to think this is one cicada that just kept coming back for me to take photos of, because every time it was on a horizontal surface, right around the same spot, but that's not likely. But to me, it's one little guy who went through a lot of experiences right in front of my face and let me take photos of it. And then I came up with this deep little meaning for this tiny little guy who had no idea that I saw him as a piece of art.